Did Steph's performance cement him as the greatest point guard of all time?
I think it's a worthy discussion. Can we say that definitively? No, because Magic Johnson, like Steph Curry, revolutionized the game of basketball, showed you that a big dude, 6'9", could play point forward or could play point guard, could be an elite passer, run an offense, lead a break, et cetera, although albeit a bit smaller. Some would say, you know, the Oscar Robinsons of the world showcased that themselves, particularly him because he averaged a triple-double in the 60s. But the fact of the matter is Magic Johnson revolutionized the game of basketball. We can't get around that. But Steph Curry, the greatest shooter God has ever created, I think has warranted a strong discussion to be the best point guard in history because of impact. We know that he's revolutionized the game in a different way because of what has been able to be generated in terms of three-point shooting or whatever. But I'm thinking about impact. Just like Magic Johnson impacted the greatness of a Kareem, of a Worthy, of a Byron Scott, a Norm Nixon before him and others, all right? And basically it instituted the fast break in a way we had never seen until he arrived. Steph Curry has done that for the game of basketball in terms of the jump shot, the three-point shot, the space that it creates, for the opportunities that it creates for the players around him, how it scares the living hell out of defenses and what have you. And then when you take into account not just his shooting ability, but it's off the dribble, it's floaters, it's runners, it's spot-ups, it's off screens and picks, it's everywhere, it's off the dribble, creating his own shot. This brother is something magnificent. There is no way around it. And so for me, when I look at it from that perspective, and I think about impact, the way you affect not just the players you're playing with because you create open opportunities for them because of how people have to lock in and zero in on you. His movement without the basketball is something else that we need to pay attention to and really, really appreciate, because he scares the living hell out of you because you're always looking for where he's at because he's always moving like a road runner, for crying out loud. You can't find him, okay, until it's too late, all right? You take that into consideration. The impact that he has and the fear he instills in opposing defenses because he can shoot from 30, from 40, from 50, from 20, from 10, from 5. He scored 22 points in the paint yesterday afternoon, rather. 22 points in the paint. He's that dude. And it is a discussion, at the very least, that he is the greatest point guard that has ever played the game of basketball.
You know what? It's so hard, right? Because the evolution of the game and how now when we define the positions of the game, and I would encourage both of y'all, and Molly, you two, all three of y'all, to actually go read Rashard Phillips' book, right? Basketball Position Metrics. And Rashard Phillips was, you know, one of the Detroit's finest, one of the greatest college players to ever touch the basketball hill. Kobe Bryant said it was one of the best players he ever played against that never got drafted. But with that being said, he actually labeled Steph Curry as a hybrid guard. A hybrid guard is an offensive disruptor, right? But the fact of the matter is, because of history, he's going to go down as a point guard. And I actually said this last year after he proved me wrong and went on to win the championship in the NBA, and he went on to win his NBA, finalist trophy and got the MVP. And so when I think about Steph, it's not what he's doing, it's how he's doing it. And when you talk about changing the game forever at 6'2", doing the things that he do, his ability to finish in the paint, it's a stat out there that, you know, in the history, he ranks up there with Elijah Warren and Karl Malone for his finishing in the paint around the basket in history. That's crazy for 6'2". We're talking about a guy that plays below the basket. We're talking about a guy that gave hope to all the kids around the world at 6'2" that would never be 6'5" or a 7-footer, that they actually got hope. Guys like Trae Young, to get an opportunity to play college basketball or even get drafted and come into the league and be a star or a superstar in today's game. So when I look at what Steph did, not particularly last night, because last night was one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. 35 to 40 of those points was much needed at crucial times, whether it was keeping them in the game, changing the momentum, building the league, whatever the case may be. We have never, ever, ever seen a 6'2 guard, maybe Isaiah Thomas, but not to this aspect, that has dominated the league for years. And I think he's fallen under the microscope because we get amazed and we see all these 6'9" and 7 foot guys that have these skill sets, and we watch Embiid and KD, and we watch these guys go to work, and we forget that this guy's still doing this at 6'2", average around close to about 30 this year. So when I look at Steph, I said it last year, and I'm going to stand on it right now. He is the greatest point guard to ever play the game of basketball, period.
Steph Curry, here's how you know that he's a top 10 all time. You know that somebody, you don't even know who yet, but you know somebody got to be moved out. Mm-hmm. Because he's so great, right. You know somebody got to be moved. Right. So without even figuring out who comes off the list, you know somebody got to come off the list because he's that damn great. Let me get to a point. Y'all will be interested in this because I can't talk about the couple of Hall of Famers that I had a conversation. Me and Wilbon was here doing NBA Countdown in L.A. yesterday, and we had a conversation. Wilbon and I were going back and forth with it, and then we got on the phone with a couple of Hall of Famers who will remain nameless because they'll kick our you-know-what if we tell you who they are. They just made it very, very clear. You will not quote us. But they started dissecting and talking about, we was having this debate, Wilbon and myself, with these people, and they talked about Magic in this regard. They said, let's keep in mind that when you talk about Steph Curry, he's great, all-timer. Nobody denies that. But what they lamented about Steph Curry, folks, is that when you talk about him and you're not talking about his shooting, what else is there? The only time you talk about him is when he is shooting the basketball. They talked about Magic. Magic is rebounding. Magic is passing. Magic is running an offense. Magic is leading a break. Magic is defending. Magic is sitting there playing point guard 1 minute, center the next. That kind of thing. And they're saying that Magic Johnson, for example, affected the game in so many different ways that because of that, you can't take it away from Magic. Whereas with Steph Curry, it's prolific, it's phenomenal, it's all of those things, but it's because of one element, his ability to shoot the basketball. Here's my retort. At the end of the day, when we want to point to numbers, and the analytics folks will be very, very happy about what I'm about to say, did y'all know that Steph Curry has won more of his career playoff series than Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Shaq, Kobe, Larry Bird, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Steph Curry has won 85% of his career playoff series. He is 23-4 all time in 27 playoff series. That's 85%. Michael Jordan's at 81%. Magic's at 80%. LeBron James is at 78%. Kobe's at 77%. Kareem is at 75%. Bird is at 72%. Shaq and Kevin Durant are at 71%. Steph Curry is at 85%.
Okay, I love that, Stephen A. And with all due respect to the Hall of Famers, these conversations honestly stress me out a little bit because there is so much good basketball to discuss. I almost would counter the argument that you just gave, and not that this is only for the sake of conversation. If the crux of everything that Steph does is shoot the basketball, and we're still talking about him in this way, to me, that only adds to the fact that it takes doing one thing extremely well to cause all 9 other players on the floor to have their eyes on you. That would be my only counter.
I'm not disputing what you and KP are
no,
saying.
We're just discussing.
I'm just telling you that the historians, the folks that have done it, brought that up. But here was my counter.
Okay.
Well, what did Kareem do? I mean, don't get me wrong, Kareem could defend and all of that stuff, and we know that. We're not taking anything away. But we know that Kareem is synonymous with the sky hook. Nobody takes that away from him, so why take the jumper away from Steph?
There you go.
Well, we actually need to state the Hall of Famers, and I love them, and
Respect,
you
of
know,
course.
I got the calls too, right? Respect to them, but we have to stop with the shooting label on
That part,
Steph
Perk.
Curry, and put the scoring on Steph Curry. Like his scoring is different, and then also we have to think about when he's like, for us, what he's been doing in his career, who he's been doing it against, and who he's been stopping from winning championships. When we talk about LeBron James, on some people's list, he's number 1. On some people's list, he's number 2. Who's been in his way? Steph Curry. When we talk about stopping Kevin Durant when he was in Oklahoma City, who was in his way? Steph Curry. We're talking about a guy that is playing in the league with Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. We're talking about guys, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. We're talking those 6 guys alone already cemented in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. So when you think about that, all those guys, we're talking about 7-footers, athletic, and whatever the case may be. He is 6'2" and play below the basket. And he has been in their way since he came into the league.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.